Newsflash, everyone. Teaching is hard. Day in and day out, you better bring your A game because those students are going to eat you alive. Me, I'm just in it for the fame and the money. No, I kid. Like most people, I teach because it's a calling. But here's the thing that nobody ever tells you. On that first day of school, when you stand in front of that room full of students, you are utterly unprepared. There they sit with their sweet little faces and a cell phone. And as you stare at their sweet little faces, you know they are just looking for weakness. And the moment you glance away, they're going to grab that cell phone and start scrolling through Instagram and Snapchat. Lucky for me, I'm funny. You know what's not funny? Grammar. You know what is funny? Memes. Somehow, me and my grammar packet gotta beat memes. These days, the most important thing that a teacher needs to know is how to be more interesting than the internet. And they don't teach you this in college. I know, it's a paradox. All that money you paid for college tuition, and somehow they forgot to cover the most important thing you need to know. Well, I'm here tonight because I can teach you how to do it in 2 easy steps. Step 1, you've got to use humor. As Michelle Obama says, first you get them to laugh, then you get them to listen. For 40 years, they have been collecting research on the effects of humor in the classroom. And I think there are 3 things that every educator should know. The first thing is, using humor in the classroom impacts student motivation and memory and retention because it activates the dopamine reward system in the brain. What this means is, if I can get my students laughing while they're learning, dopamine, a chemical in the brain, fires up and tells their brain they like learning that thing, and it would be worth their while to come back and learn some more. Do you see where this is going, people? That means if I can connect my grammar lesson to that dopamine reward, me and my grammar packet got a shot at beating memes. But not every teacher thinks they can be funny, and a teacher must, above all else, be authentic. So just find your comfort level. Maybe put a cartoon or a joke on the smartboard at the start of class, anything to get that dopamine drip started right away. Or maybe you have a funny catchphrase that you like to use. In my room, I use FIO as a way to get students to figure out some simple questions for themselves and maximize learning time. This phrase was coined by Maddie Kuda when she was about 14 years old. I stole it from her. Thank you, Maddie. I was directing musicals at Altman Middle School at the time, and every time I arrived at rehearsal, I would be bombarded with students asking a million questions, many of which they could have answered for themselves, and we lost a tremendous amount of rehearsal time. One day, I just declared, I'm only one person. I can't possibly think for everybody in this room. You're gonna have to figure some things out for yourself. Then the next day when I got to rehearsal, Maddie ran interference for me. I walked in and she just announced to the whole room, we've got a show to do. Mrs. Uphus will not be taking any questions. You're gonna have to FIO, people. And it was incredible. Everyone just turned around and went to go figure things out for themselves. And I thought, wow, if FIO could work in that chaos, maybe it would help in my classroom. So now, as part of my classroom expectations, there's the expectation that students will answer some simple questions for themselves.
Maybe questions like these.
Mr. Matsch, everyone.
Can I sharpen my pencil?
Students, you do not need to ask me to sharpen your pencil. FIO, it can't work if it's not sharpened. So any time that I am not speaking, feel free to sharpen it.
Can I go to the bathroom?
I never want to answer that question again in my life. Students, I did home daycare for 10 years. I am no longer interested in monitoring people's potty habits. So just get the pass, fill it out, I'll sign it, and you will be on your way. If you want to take advantage of this flexible and generous system, then I'll stop signing your passes. Figure it out.
Can I turn in my paper?
Well, right here on the board, I wrote, put your paper in the basket for grading. So I'll need you to FIO that one for yourself. And eventually, I start hearing students use it with each other. Maybe things like, See those 3 big letters over the door?
They should probably use them.
That'd be a good
Yeah.
idea. FIO. It's practical, it maximizes learning time, and we have a little bit of fun with it. It's a win-win-win. But maybe none of that sounds like your style, and a teacher does, above all else, need to be authentic, so maybe just let your guard down once in a while. Don't take yourself too seriously, and never underestimate the power of an embarrassing moment. You've got to be able to laugh at yourself. The second thing that the research shows is if humor is going to have an impact on memory and retention, it has to be connected to a specific topic. And some topics are easier to connect to humor than others. For example, my introductory lesson to The Crucible, which, if you're not familiar with The Crucible, this is a play about the Salem witch trials of 1693, where 200 people were falsely accused of being witches. 19 were hung and 1 was tortured to death. There's not much funny there. And then central to understanding the whole play is understanding the idea of a paradox, which is very confusing for students. I mean, just look at this definition.
A seemingly absurd or self-contradictory statement or proposition that, when investigated or explained, may prove to be well-founded or true.
For years, I struggled with helping my students understand this concept. But in 2013, singer-songwriter John Legend gave me the perfect lesson. Okay, let's pretend you're my class. Well, usually I do this lesson with a YouTube video, but this evening, Mr. Jason Matsch has agreed to do the honors. So, here goes. Students, paradox is tough. And just look at that definition. That is very confusing. But I am about to ruin a perfectly beautiful song for you. And for the rest of your lives, when you hear this song, you will think of me and you will hate me for ruining it. But also, for the rest of your lives, when you hear this song, you will know that you totally understand what a paradox is.
What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you're kicking me out. You got my head spinning, no kidding. I can't pin you down. What's going on in that beautiful mind? I'm on your magical mystery ride, and I'm so dizzy, don't know what hit me, but I'll be alright. My head's underwater, but I'm breathing fine. You're crazy and I'm out of my mind.
Okay, I got to stop you right there. Oh, that was really pretty, though. Really pretty. So, if your head's underwater, you're not breathing fine, you're drowning. Okay, just so we're clear on that. And if you're crazy, you're out of your mind. You can leave me out of that, but nice job. Please continue.
Okay. 'Cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges. All your perfect imperfections.
No, I'm sorry, I got to stop you again. Perfect imperfections, the prefix im literally means not, so your imperfections cannot be perfect. But again, go ahead, continue. That was really lovely. Yes.
Give your all to me. I give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose, I'm winning.
I'm sorry, just one more time. You cannot be both the end and the beginning. If you're at the end, people, it's over. And any athlete will tell you, losing feels nothing like winning. These things contradict each other. Paradox. Yeah, go ahead. But go ahead.
'Cause I give you all of me.
Wow.
You give me all of you. Oh. How many times do I have to tell you? Even when you're crying, you're beautiful too.
No. You know that never happens. Nobody cries pretty. No, never in life has that ever happened. Paradox, right there. But I'm sorry.
World is beating you down. I'm around through every mood. You're my downfall, you're my muse, my worst distraction, my rhythm and blues. Can't stop singing, it's ringing in my head for you. My head's underwater, but I'm breathing fine.
You're really drowning.
You're crazy and I'm out of my mind.
Nope, just you who's crazy.
'Cause all
Everybody,
of
big
me
sing along now.
loves all of you.
Love your curves and all your edges. All your perfect. That is not possible.
Give your all to me. I give my all to you. You're my end and my
You
beginning.
can't be both.
Even when I lose, I'm winning.
It doesn't happen.
'Cause I give you all of me.
Oh,
You give me all of you. Oh. The cards are on the table. We're both showing hearts.
oh man.
What? That's not a paradox.
I know, but what a romantic metaphor. Oh, it's gorgeous.
Risking it all, though it's hard.
Everybody, big fish.
'Cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges. All your perfect
impossible
imperfections.
imperfect.
Give your all to me. I give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning.
You cannot be both.
Even when I lose, I'm
And
winning.
that's a paradox.
I give you all of me,
Oh,
and you give me all of you. Oh.
Mr. Matsch, everyone. So, students, breathing underwater, losing being the same as winning, these are situations that contradict themselves and can't logically exist in life. However, there might be situations in which they seem to exist. The love in John Legend's heart does not see the imperfections in his wife, Chrissy. He thinks she is perfect. Therefore, the imperfections, by association, seem perfect too. That's what a paradox is. You're welcome, and now you will never enjoy that song the same way ever again. But you will always know what a paradox is. End scene. The third thing that the humor research tells us is that humor in the classroom increases relationships with students, or improves our relationships with students. Here's a confession. I like sarcasm.
What would I do without your smart mouth?
Clever.
Thanks.
Not helping.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, yeah. Every teacher book ever written, though, says you should not use sarcasm in your classroom because it can sometimes be a hurtful form of humor. And I never want to hurt anyone's feelings with a joke. And maybe it's not the sarcasm I like so much as the irony or the general sassiness. But I can't be my authentic self if I am trying to stifle my inner comedian. So I had to find a way to make this work.
You mean you had to FIO your own sense of humor?
Yes, but still not helping.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
Thank you. Okay. So at the beginning of the school year, when I introduced myself to students, I explained to them I like to have a casual classroom environment, and I like to have some fun while we're learning, but sometimes my inner comedian will not be stopped, and words just pop out of my mouth. And I don't ever want to hurt anyone's feelings with a joke that I make. Make fun of life, yes. Myself, absolutely. Them as students, never. And if that ever should happen, I want them to come to me and tell me immediately so that I can apologize for it, and I can guarantee it'll never happen a second time. Using humor creates a bond of trust in my classroom. Students see my authentic self, and I'm pretty much an open book. What you see is what you get. And there's value in that. When students see me make a mistake or embarrass myself, they know that they have a safe place to take chances. Maybe see what happens if they try a little harder than they usually do. Because this teacher here, she's not too hard on herself, so she's not going to be too judgy with them. And if I've done my job well, then they know that they can come to me with anything. And I won't judge them, I'll just help them, and I will always look out for their best interests. Hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, they know that they can trust me because I am passionate, I work hard for them every day, and I don't take myself too seriously. Instead, I make them the most important thing in the room. So, being more interesting than the internet is really just one thing, I guess. Being passionate about kids. And if that comes authentically from your heart, they will feel it and they will trust it. These post-millennial kids these days, they say, are the loneliest generation. Blame it on technology and social media. Kids sitting alone in their room, scrolling through their phone, comparing themselves, seeing if they measure up to everybody else. That will definitely create feelings of inadequacy and loneliness. So as a teacher, maybe the way that I really beat the internet isn't that I have to be more entertaining, but that humor research about dopamine in the brain and memory and retention, that's real. But maybe the way that I really beat the internet is because I'm real. And I'm there every day with my eyes up looking at them, and I see them, and I am waiting to hear what they have to say. Day in and day out, I show them it's okay to be imperfect and to take chances, and we connect through our humor and our laughter and our shared awkward humanness, and then we FIO the rest of it. Being authentic, making real human connections, that's what teaching is. Guess it's not such a paradox after all. Thank you.